Next, we'll hear from Gerard Filitti, followed by Lori Kim Alexander, Gobi Romo, and Cheryl Feinbein, or Fishbein, apologies.
Starting time.
Good afternoon. My name is Gerard Filitti. I'm an attorney and senior counsel at the Lawfare Project, a nonprofit that provides pro bono legal services to protect and uphold the civil and human rights of the Jewish community. I'd like to thank Chair Hanks and Chair Williams for the opportunity to be here today, as well as Council Member Vernikov. I'd specifically like to thank Chair Hanks for mentioning at the beginning that this is AAPI Heritage Month. And as a city, it's crucially important, and we are stronger together when we recognize and respect our diversity. I'd also like to remind everyone that it's also Jewish American Heritage Month, so please give that a thought as well. In October 2000, shortly after he signed the bill introducing the penalties increased for hate crimes, then Governor George Pataki said that hate crimes are so inherently destructive to society that they deserve special consideration under the law. The Jewish community knows this very well. Looking at the victims between 2019 and 2022, the Jewish community was the group most targeted in bias crimes in New York City based on the number of arrests per NYPD's bias motive descriptors. As Scott Richmond from the ADL testified, just last week, the ADL reported that anti-Semitic attacks in New York increased by 325% over the prior year. It's the highest number of anti-Semitic assaults on record in New York State, and there were more anti-Semitic assaults in Brooklyn than anywhere else in America. Yet, as Councilmember Holden and others have mentioned, only 15% of hate crime arrests have resulted in hate crime convictions. This is particularly troubling, and it highlights a gap between the rhetoric of punishing hate crimes and the harsh reality that appear to few, if any, consequences for the people who commit them. We need better transparency on the status and disposition of cases. We need accountability for why cases are or are not being prosecuted. Once a case goes from arrest into the judicial system, we often lose track of what happened and why, and as a result, we can't help find a better solution to the problems that we face. For the Jewish community, it's specifically troubling. The root cause of anti-Semitic hate crimes is Jew hatred, which is a more accurate term for the systemic anti-Semitism that is propagated and perpetuated on a constant basis, whether by white supremacists or supporters of the BDS movement that target Jewish people with discrimination and on occasion violence. We see it in the streets, in the workplace, on college campuses, in schools. We are deeply concerned with the normalization of Jew hatred that occurs when our elected officials fail to speak up or take action, especially when you have violent rhetoric of globalizing the Intifada, which is globalizing violence against Jews, violent rhetoric that results in actual physical violence against the Jewish community. Just as we have multiple investigations into the horrific violence of January 6, 2021, we need to hold accountable the people who instigate violence against the Jewish people, whether online or during protests in which hate-filled rhetoric reverberates in our city streets. Accountability starts with investigations and prosecution, as well as full investigation by our elected officials. In closing, I wish you had been able to hear today from our client, Matt Greenman, who was the victim of a horrific assault less than 2 weeks ago. You need testimony from people like him who are brave enough to come forward and persist in getting their story out there and in assuring that responsible parties are prosecuted and held accountable for hate crime violations. Thank you.